Alrighty, yo, what's going on, guys? Achilles here, and we're gonna be doing another tank review. This time we're gonna be doing the highly undervalued Object 263. And some of you may be looking at this and saying, "What the heck is that thing, man?" Well, most people don't really know about this tank. For some reason, this tank line is very neglected. I can understand why, because it's pretty awful. This tank line stems off of the SU-100. And you go through the SU-101, which most people don't really like because the gun selection is so bad. You're looking at the top gun having only 175 pen. Now, granted, that's tier 7, it works, but tier 8, it's just 219. Like, it's not as, I mean, like, it's not bad, but it's just, you're gonna have to have a trained eye for, you know, aiming for weak spots and stuff, and the gun's not the most accurate. But when you get to tier 9, you get this thing. And this tank is, I would say it is very good. The SU-122-54 was a very good vehicle. I enjoyed playing it. It's just, this is one of those tanks where you have to be set up in a spot where you are hidden, you have good fire on them, and you won't get flanked or get spotted or anything. Because if you're, the only two things this tank has, or three I should say, is speed, camo, and its gun. So, as you can see, the 6.52 rounds per minute. With a gun rammer and a good crew, you can jack that up, and you'll be spitting out shots maybe like every 7.5, 8 seconds. So it's pretty crazy. This is the IS-6, or no, not the IS-4's gun. So it's just beefed up, has a better aim time, accuracy, and fire rate. So yeah. And then when you finally get this bad boy, you get the Object 263, which you don't really see very many of at tier 10, just because it's such a terrible grind trying to get to it. Most people get really discouraged after playing the tier 7 and tier 8 that they don't really want to continue on. But let's jump right into it. Let's go look at the armor profile real quick. Alright, so we're looking at a hefty 250 millimeters on the front, and that is really, really good. You got 80 on the side and 50 on the rear. So, and since it's TD, it doesn't show you turret thicknesses, but I can assure you, I am looking at my armor inspector on my phone right now, and the upper plate is 250. That's what the thing just told you. And then the two things by the gun, the little plates with the windows, that's 250. That flat part right there in front of those two little plates is 250. The gun mantlet is 250. So pretty much everything on the front of this tank is 250 except for the lower plate, which is 150 millimeters. You got 80 on the side, and I think it said 40 on the rear, or 50. So, I mean, it's the rear. You're not really going to be too concerned with that. But a couple things that I will be highlighting a couple things that you are going to have to know when you're playing this tank about what is shooting at you and what you need to avoid. But we'll get into that after I go over the gun and the modules and stuff. So, let's get right into that. So, you got a 1,050 horsepower engine, which is extremely good. I think this is the same engine that's on the IS-7, I believe. Take a quick look. Yeah, 1,050 horsepower. So, as you may have noticed, this tank is sitting on an IS-7 hull, just backwards. That right there is the rear of the tank. They just slapped a 250 millimeter plate on top of it, and reversed it and put a better version of the IS-7 gun on it without a turret. But 1,050 horsepower, you're going to be getting up to some pretty high speeds. I don't know what it says. 55 is the speed limit, and that is actually the same as the Object 430, which is also a very quick and agile medium. But this is a TD, so it's kind of foreign waters for having a fast TD with a lot of armor. You've got a 32-degree traverse speed on your tracks, which is extremely good. This is definitely one of those TDs that you don't want to run into if you're in a heavy tank or like a slow medium, because this thing can maneuver. This is not a T95. You getting around this thing is not going to be as easy as you'd think it is. I don't have a gameplay like preset for this, so I'm just going to be doing it live. So I'll see if I can highlight that in whatever game I get, or I can just run 2 games if the first game's bad. But the 32-degree traverse speed is very good. And then the turret traverse, that doesn't really mean much. Alright, so now we can look at the gun. You've got 130mm S70A, and this is basically the same caliber as the IS-7, same alpha, but of course you get the godlike TD, rate of fire, and penetration, and aim time and accuracy, and all that. So you got a rate of fire of 5.45. Now let's take a look at what the IS-7's rate of fire is. No, I don't want to buy it. What is that? 4.38 on the same caliber gun. So I have pretty much an entire point over the IS-7, and you're spitting out the same alpha with 290 pen with AP, and 330 with APCR, and 75 with HE. Like penetration wise, like if it can go through the front of the E-100's turret without shooting gold rounds, then it's gonna have a super pen gun like this one. If he's slightly angling it at all, though, it only works if he's looking flat on you. But besides that, you've got the 5.45 rounds per minute, and my reload, I believe, is 8.7 something, 8.8, 8.9 something around there. So that's 550 alpha every 8.8 seconds or whatever. And I think I did the math last night with the DPM, and I think it's somewhere around 3,670 something. So it's pretty crazy. And you got an aim time of 2.5 seconds, which I feel is one of the balancing factors on this tank, along with some of the others I will mention in a short bit here. This gun is extremely accurate, 0.31. That is just 0.01 off of Leopard, Waffle. What other tanks have 0.3 accuracy? E50M. So you're gonna be hitting the shots that you wouldn't expect to in a tank with a 130 millimeter gun. Sorry. Alrighty, so got an equipment setup. You don't really have to have like a full equipment setup on this thing. I don't think I mentioned, but this thing has a 410 meter view range base, which unlike the Waffle has the 420 view range, but it has the worst camera rating of all the tier 10s. So you're pretty much, when you're spotting things, they're going to be seeing you too, unless you have a camo net, binocs, and all that stuff. With the 263, you're going to be able to get stationary, and you're going to be able to utilize that 410 view range. That's the same with something like, I don't have any of them, but the STB has 410 meters view range. The what other tanks do? I think the Leopard does. So you have the same view range as a Leopard. So, and you have a camera rating, because this tank is pretty small. Because if you look at it, it's not that much bigger than like the Object 430 or like the IS-6. This tank is not very big compared to the U-100. Like Behemoth. And then this thing's pretty low profile. It's not very big. So, with that in mind, you can use the camo net, which is what I use. And since I've been kind of on the silver struggle lately, since I bought this thing back, I would probably use coated optics, because I'm not really sitting stationary in this thing very much. I mean, I guess you could throw on a gun rammer or a gun lane drive, but I don't really have a problem with the aim time either. But gun rammer, camo net, optics, binocs, whatever you want. They're interchangeable. The only essential thing I would say is probably the gun rammer, just to get your reload down further. And consumables, AP mostly. I mean, 290 pen. Honestly, if you need to shoot gold, I don't know what's wrong with you. I keep a couple just in case if I'm shooting it like a Jaeger hold down or something. I can tell you I've never shot an APCR shell on this tank. I don't know why I even have them on here. And then HE for those pesky waffles. Yesterday I remember I rolled 840 on one of them in the turret and broke his gun and killed him shortly afterwards. But consumables wise, pretty standard small repair kit, small health kit. I would usually use a large health kit, but I'm trying not to waste as much money, trying to make some money playing tier 10, which is ironic because I'm using extra combat rations, but I do this just to get my reload down even further, just to get that maximum DPM. And another thing I wanted to note is that you cannot fit vents on this tank, since it is an open top vehicle, as you can see. So now what I would like to do is highlight a lot of the weaknesses on this thing. So I like to think of this tank as something that is, this is probably one of the most OP tanks in the game if played correctly. If you can utilize the strengths of this tank and not expose the weaknesses or put yourself out to where you're going to get killed, this is probably one of the strongest tanks in the game, and you can do really well consistently. So as you can see, the sides of the tank in there, That is a ton of ammo. If you get shot in the side of this tank, you are going to get ammo racked, I can assure you. Sometimes you'll get lucky, sometimes you won't. I have never gotten, I think I've gotten ammo racked 1 or 2 times in this thing, but that's one of the things you're going to have to learn to do if you're playing this tank. Never, and I repeat, never get shot in the side with this thing. This tank, it is vital that you keep only this showing to your enemies. You never want to show this or something like this, like you're turning around trying to run away. You always want to be facing them, using that 250 millimeters pretty much everywhere. Now, another thing I wanted to highlight is that gun mallet. I just looked at my armor inspector, and if you're looking flat on it, just staring at it right here, that thing is only 260 effective. And as you can see, there is nothing behind it. That is the gun. If you get through that, you're going to penetrate and do damage to the gun. Now, this tank hates having HE shot at it. If you shoot the gun mallet with HE, I'm 99% sure you're going to damage the gun. This gun shield is probably the biggest Achilles heel of this tank. Most of the tier 10 TDs can go through this without any issues. So, you know, most of the Xbox players like to just kind of point and click wherever it's red. If they're in a tier 10 TD, that's where it's going to be red, is that gun mallet right there, and it's most likely going to damage your gun and or knock it out. So you're going to want to manage the exposure time that you will have in this tank against high alpha TDs like that. Now, in a one-on-one with like an E3 or something, you can beat them. You can outmaneuver them. This tank is very quick, which I will show you guys when I start up the game. But you are going to have to learn to manage not getting shot in that gun mallet right there. And another thing I wanted to highlight is if the TDs load gold, if with their like super 390 pen bullshit, they can pen the superstructure of your tank where the 2 little windows are. That is only about 320 effective if you're looking flat on it, and if you're like angled down like this to looking down on you, it's even worse. It's only like 300. So I like to think of that as kind of like an E100 turret. I always kind of want to like turn it a little bit just in case, not exposing too much, because that is 80 millimeters side armor. It is the same as the E50, so you can side scrape. I don't know why you would, unless you're trying to bait a shot and you know you can take it. But along with that, the sides, if you can see that thing right next to the gun shield, that flat part there and there with no camo on it, that is, if you shoot that, it's going through. It's going to go through no matter what. And also that hole in the gun shield is 0 millimeters of armor. If you can hit that, it's going to go through. Another thing is if he has the gun pointed up, you can shoot under the gun shield and go into the gun, and it will damage the gun and penetrate and do damage. So you're going to want to manage the amount of time that you expose that, because that is your biggest weakness, is that gun shield right there. Now, if you're shooting it like a tier 10 heavy, medium, as long as they're not shooting gold rounds, you're fine, and you don't have to worry about getting pen there unless they get a super high pen roll and go through. Your lower plate, I mean, it's weak, but it's not really big. As you can see, it's pretty small. I don't really think you can angle it to where it'll bounce anything. I'm pretty sure you can still get penned at this angle because, as you can see, it's not really steep. So, I mean, as long as you can cover that up and manage your gun shield and make sure that you're always facing your enemy, that is key to the success of you in this tank. Another thing I want to reiterate is you cannot stop shooting. This gun relies on you shooting constantly. If you want to have those monster games, you're gonna have to get in there. You can't be Mr. Sniper Rheinmetall Borsig in the back of the map because he has nothing besides camo and bullshit gun and OP stuff. This tank cannot. Like, I mean, it can, but you're doing the tank an injustice if you're just sitting in the back doing nothing. So I'm pretty sure I've harped on everything. When I finish the gameplays, I'll try to see if I can point out some things that I maybe missed. So let's hop right into it. Alright, good map. Good map, good map. Now this map has a lot of debris piles that you can hide your lower plate on. I'm going to try to go down the infamous alley in the middle. I don't really know what kind of TDs they're bringing. So I don't know if they're actually going to go there, because if they go there, then that's a big issue. So we have a Death Star, a Waffle, and a Jaeger. Alright, so of those three, including the ISU, 3 of them can pen my gun mantlet, no problem with AP. Very frustrating at times. So what I'm going to have to do is just kind of manage that. You're going to see me moving a lot when I'm not shooting. Just to kind of, you know, screw up their shot. And that can end up biting you in the ass. If you're like wiggling, they might get a side shot on the inside of your gun mantlet right there, or gun shield. So, as you can see, this thing is very, like, very maneuverable. You can see that reload, 8.89. So you're spitting out a shot every 8.89 seconds in this thing. It's pretty brutal. But, as you can see, I'm getting up pretty fast. 50... 51, you know, this thing has no trouble moving. Now, what I'm doing here, covering up the gun mail, or covering up the lower plate. Just gonna kind of see what's going on, see what kind of stuff they bring. I don't want to push up too far because then I'll get shot in the side from the people if any of them get down to like D3 or whatever. So I don't want that to happen. Now we're just gonna wait, see if they bring anything. I don't really have any help with me because Mr. Waffen Trigger is not staying with me, so oh, lit. Alright, here's what I was talking about. There's that U100 turret. Goes right through. If he's looking right at you, you have no problem. See, now he's angling it. He's over angling it. I don't know what he's doing. I guess I'm just gonna DP him to death because I have no idea what he's doing. If he's shooting heat, he's gonna go through. Alright, shooting AP. I know that Jaeger's right there. I just want to try to wither away this guy as quick as possible. Now that's one of the tanks you do not want to get shot by. I can try to bait the superstructure there. I don't know if he's shooting. Alright, there you go. There, you saw that right there. He's shooting AP. So that was good. Maybe I can push up. U100 just got finished off. Now, I don't actually know if AP rounds can go through the superstructure of the Jaeger. I've never actually tried it. So I guess this is a trial run, and I can, so that's good. Now you see me here, what I was talking about earlier with the wiggling and stuff. He's probably going to end up hitting my gun mantlet here, or he can bounce. That was beautiful. And now I'm just going to punish him for it because of how quick this gun reloads. Now, as you can see, I can probably get off 2 shots before he even reloads. So, oh man, that was unlucky. He's probably going to pop another one off here. Maybe he'll get unlucky, kill me, or get a one shot into me, I don't know. Pretty sure one more shot will do it. As you can see, this tank is just brutal, DPM wise, like that. The combination between the alpha, the penetration, and the rate of fire is just, it's unbelievable. It's really, people really underestimate this tank when one of them's staring at them. Now, this tank is also very good at brawling if you can keep them in front of you. You're going to see right here, this 422 is probably going to try to get around me, and there's that auto bounce hole for you. That was terrible, I should have just aimed. But, it doesn't matter, got the rate of fire. This tank also is quite good at ramming if you can get going fast enough. Something like that. I probably would have gotten punished for it. He would have just sat behind me and killed me. Just because of how slow that tank turns. This tank does not turn as slow as the other ones, so you're not going to really have any problems, you know, trying to keep up with a medium tank, especially if there's something like a building behind you and he's going to have to run into it eventually, and he doesn't have that just open ground to circle you freely. Show him this guy. See, that alpha is just, pretty much you're taking off a quarter of their health with each shot you take at them, unless it's like a mouse or something. Shooting on the move, no problem. This accuracy is really good, especially at a distance like that. You're not really gonna have to worry about it. You see the speed, maneuverability still, it's really, really good. clean him up for 1 HP. So, pretty good game. 12 pending shots, 3 kills. I don't actually know what the number was because that was a pretty quick game, but pretty good game. 5K. As I said before, like if you can just keep the gun singing, the damage is it's really gonna add up. Keep in mind, if you pen 10 shots, that's 5K damage right there. Just because of how high alpha the gun is, you can roll 600 sometimes. I like to compare this tank a lot to the Yag Tiger because it's pretty much the same principle. You've got a really good superstructure, minus the gun mantle or the gun shield in the 263's case, but you also have that hull armor, which is kind of negated by the tier 9 guns because they can just shoot right through the Yag Tiger's hull. But the DPM, penetration, damage-wise, DPM, they're pretty much the same tank. We'll play another one for you just because that was a really quick game. Ooh, another good map. And this is one of those maps where I kind of like to try to get overly aggressive, and sometimes it can bite me in the ass in the end, but sometimes it can really pay off if your team backs you up. That's one of the things that I try to encourage when playing pub matches, is to like be the first guy to do it, to try to see if my team would actually follow me and help me. It's really hard to get pubbies who don't have mics and or are in party chat or something to get with you to do whatever job you're trying to accomplish, unless you have a cooperative team.
I like the ice.
Excuse you.
We have some talkative teammates here.
Sorry. Excuse me.
And we got response.
I'm gonna go right.
I'm gonna go right with you.
I'm just gonna mute these guys so I can hear.
Sorry about that.
Just so I can talk to you guys. I don't know who else was talking. It's just gonna lag my Xbox from doing that. I don't know why it does that. But pretty much I like to go to the heavy tank brawling spot on this map. It's really good when you've got the DPM that this gun has, the alpha, and the frontal armor. So I see the team set up now. We've still got a bunch of heavies in the base. I don't know where they're going to disperse to, but I've got a pretty nice force behind me. I'm not alone, which is good to know. Try to see if I can get one of those preemptive shots off here. Now, one of the things you're going to want to try to do in this tank is if you don't have a shot on something, you can like back up against a wall like this. That can be good and bad, because what you're doing here is you're unangling your superstructure and stuff like that. Oh man, that's going to be rough. That's a 4.5. That's not good. Alright, now another thing I forgot to mention is that artillery loves this tank. If they drop a shell in your little area right here, you're done. The open top area, oh man, you're done. I can count on probably one hand the amount of times I've gotten one shot of artillery in this thing. But it does happen, and when it does happen, it's not good. It's not pretty at all. Now, what I'm going to try to do here, I should probably run away. Alright, now's probably a good time to get out of here. Just because I don't want to get shot in the side, because we don't have anybody over here. Try to get a shot on this medium. Oh, he stole my kill. Got pretty good support over here on the right behind me, so I'm going to try to push up here. Another U100. See that alpha. Quick reload. By the time he looks at me and aims, I'm going to have another shot in the clip. In the breach.
Right now.
Get a little bit aggressive here. I don't know if I should do this. That was stupid. You can see that wiggling I was talking about, and that guy just hits me lower plate on the move.
We fixed the track.
I don't know how that bounced. Yeah, there's that. There's those tracks again.
Track repaired. Critical hit.
There we go. That's what I wanted. Oh, there's that ammo rack I was talking about. Try to fix it and get out of here. As you can see, this tank is pretty quick, so you can get out of situations like this unless you're getting shot in the ass by an M103. And this 4502B just made a big mistake. He could have just shot me and probably killed me if he rolled good, but instead he didn't. This M103 is about to get clotheslined. He thinks he's safe. He's not. His 290 pen is devastating. I don't think he knows I can hit his. That'll probably only damage his viewport, but can do it. Stupid. What is this heavy tank? U100. Ooh, that looked good, but did not go as planned. As you can see, there's that lower plate in the side. As you saw, I got ammo racked when he shot me in the side right there. That's just another one of the things you want to keep in mind. And that was just bad RNG. Should have aimed. Yeah, he doesn't want to try it. Most people don't know where to shoot this thing, so it's kind of a mystery when they see one. And then they kind of panic and just shoot random spots, hoping for the best, looking for where it's red, because they don't know where to shoot it. That guy was doing the right thing. I mean, he kind of put himself in a crappy position in the first place. I mean, we have most of our team over here, so it's not really. I'm not really worried about getting overrun at this point. We only have 4 tanks left. But you know, you saw. I wanted to highlight in this game. You saw the maneuverability and the ability to like escape. Like if I was in something like an E3 or an E4 right there, I wouldn't have been able to turn around and run away from that 4502B and then get the killing shot on him because I had my back turned to him. You know, you're gonna have to make those decisions to like fight or flight. You know, to preserve your tank. Just because I feel like this is one of the most important tanks on the battlefield. If you're one of the few tier 10s in the game. Now in this case there were 6 or 7 of them, so I'm not as big as I should be. But if I was in a game where I'm one of 4 tier 10s, like this tank is huge, and you can't be throwing away your health pool and doing stupid shit, getting yourself killed. But that wasn't as good of a game, but it highlighted some of the things that this tank does very well, along with having that amazing gun, such as, you know, the turning speed and the acceleration. As you saw, if I wouldn't, that M103 wouldn't have shot me, I still would have had a pretty good chunk of health left, and I could have maybe taken a shot from that 4.52B if he would have shot me, and I would have still killed him. But as you saw, I only had 6 penny shots and did 3k damage. As I talked about earlier, the damage really does stack up in this tank. Now, I mean, that wasn't a fantastic game because I had a pretty good team across the board. Everybody did a pretty good job. So pretty much in a nutshell, this tank is one of those things that it's not. I wouldn't say it's a one-trick pony, but you're pretty much going to be doing the same thing every single game. You know, well, I shouldn't say that. There's one of 2 things you can do. There's 2 things you can do. You can either sit in the base, defend a spot, use your camo net, binocs, whatever you got, and just snipe, because this gun has the accuracy, the .31. Or you can be the get-in-your-face, brawling machine that this thing is. Like you saw when I was killing the E100 and the Jaeger on the alley on Himmelsdorf, and right there when I was brawling with the M103 and the 4.52B. Now granted, the 4.52B armor is pretty fucking amazing now, so it's not gonna be easy to pin. So you're gonna have to aim for weak spots. I mean, the lower plate effective on that thing is like 300 something now, so 290 pen isn't gonna cut it. So you're gonna have to aim for the hatch on that. But if that was any other tank, I would have been able to just rip him apart. And as you saw when I shot and I was reloading, you know, I was wiggling my tank and he shot my tracks twice. He never actually got a shot on my lower plate. The only one that did was the M103 that was on the move. I guess he just got lucky RNG when he shot me there. But, you know, that's one of the things that this tank excels at, since that lower plate is so small. And if they don't have gold rounds loaded, they're not going to pen your gun shield. you really don't have to worry about getting penned anywhere else besides the lower plate. This is one of those tanks that doesn't have any like glaring frontal weak spots, like say the 430 with the top of the turret, you know, the super weak roof and the 2 commander's cupolas. This thing has none of that. This thing is a fortress. If they're not shooting gold at you, if there's not any super high pen stupid TDs shooting at you. But you know, my biggest thing with this tank is just knowing what you can and can't go up against armor wise. I mean, if you know what can and can't do damage to you by shooting you through the gun shield, then you're gonna be just fine. You'll thoroughly enjoy this tank. The gun is fantastic. It's really fast. It has a decent camo rating, good rate of fire, solid armor. I think the effective armor of the upper plate's like 350, 360 millimeters of armor, so you're not really ever gonna get penned there. Again, the superstructure, you're really only gonna have to worry about tier 10 TDs shooting you with gold through that. The gun shield is your only real big issues in the areas surrounding it, those 2 little plates in there and the little hole in the gun shield. But other than that, if you're able to manage those weaknesses and you're able to put this gun to work, keep it shooting, you know, getting in their face, getting aggressive or passive, as long as you're in a spot where you can keep the gun singing, because you're of no use to your team if you can't keep this gun, you know, putting shots down range. This gun is extremely lethal. I would say this is probably one of the best guns in the game in terms of reliability, accuracy, firepower, because you're spitting out 550 alpha every 8.89 seconds. You saw that's an extremely fast reload. That's almost as fast as, I would say, like the E50M with a terrible crew and no equipment. That's an E50M reload, but you're getting 550 alpha instead of 390. So this tank really is just, it's a champion. This tank can really dictate the course of the battle as long as you can stay alive and manage those weak spots. That's pretty much all I have to say about this tank. If you guys have anything else that you would like to add, if you've played this tank, you have anything else that I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments. I know this is one of those highly sought after tanks that people would like to play, but they don't want to grind it out because the line is so terrible. I can tell you that it's worth it in the end because this tank is a monster. This is probably one of the most fun tier 10 tanks I have. I have no issue playing it no matter what map it is. This isn't one of those tanks that you're gonna be discouraged by what map it is. Like, say you play Pro Karovka and an E100, like, oh man, what am I gonna do with an E100 on Pro Karovka? On Pro Karovka, this thing is, oh man, dude, the accuracy, the camo, you can, you know, there's endless possibilities on every single map. There's a spot for this tank on every single map. This isn't a specialized tank like some people would say, like the Death Star is. Like that's like a specialty tank. You know, for specialty situations, it's not always the best type of thing or type of tank for each situation. This is one of those tanks that pretty much excels in every situation, except for when you're in a spot where you have to have gun depression, which I think I forgot to mention in the beginning. This tank only has 4 degrees of gun depression, which, I mean, wouldn't be such a surprise just because you're sticking the gun over the back of the tank, and I mean, it doesn't really look like it's going to go down very far either. But 4 degrees, this tank is relatively low profile to the ground, and you have such good frontal armor that you really shouldn't have to worry about peeking over a hill and getting or taking a bad trade in return for just getting that one shot in, unless they're smart, hit your lower plate, or have gold loaded and shoot your gun shield. So this is one of those tanks that it's good for every situation. I like to think this is the Swiss Army knife of TDs, because you have a good balance of armor, damage, rate of fire, speed. I mean, it pretty much does everything except for having a turret. So pretty much that's all I have to say about this tank. Feel free to let me know what you guys think about it, and if you would like to get it, you know, like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah, you know, typical YouTube stuff. This has been Achilles, and I guess I'll catch you guys later.